6th of October, 2023, right now, in this present, right now. I'm sending this video out to anybody who needs to see it at the moment that you're clearing the 6th, the city of the 6th of October out of your energy field. So whenever you find this, whatever year it is, whatever day it is, know that what you're clearing through and connecting, or whatever circumstance that is coming into your reality upon this video entering your field, everything I'm about to talk about this city of October 6th in Egypt, and all of the timeline clearings, and what even those of us who walked it are just now starting to realize the macrosity of the change that is happening in our reality as a human race from the clearings that we wrote. Now, I didn't know that I was an ancient Egyptian. You don't know that you're an ancient Egyptian until it's time to know that you're an ancient Egyptian. The truth, since we've walked it, and I mean walked every single bit of a spiritual transcendence passage, all the way up through Giza, connecting it, putting Osiris together, having to take down Osiris, then having to resurrect Osiris, then figuring out that that was the whole program that us queens had to get out of. Stop putting together Osiris. That's the problem. The problem was we was always putting together Osiris, and then as soon as we put together Osiris, what'd he come do? What'd he come do? Came after us. Every time. Every time. Now, the truth about Egypt is what physics we're in now. We are not bringing in the age of Aquarius. That was a lie. Hi, Daniel. I'm going to get off of this for a second. I'm all stopped up, because if you woke up today and you've got a lot of stopped up, and man, I had to take half a Benadryl. If you buy Benadryl, there's only 2 medications that I take that I will allow in my body. Benadryl is one of them, but I only use half. So try not to take the whole thing at once. Use half. And actually, you can use it for pain. I've started when I have real bad migraines, because I was always an ancient Egyptian down here. See, it all makes sense whenever you start coming through what they would call transcendence, but there's more layers to it than that. That's only one little piece of it. You take a little bit of that Benadryl if you're having any, even if you feel like your energy's too high and you need to stabilize. If you have any rashes that pop up, or if you get a pain, or anyone around you, even a cut or something like that, you do half of a Benadryl, and what it does is it brings down those nerve endings, just like a rash. And our bodies regenerate and heal so fast now. So fast. that as long as you can get those pain sensors or rash or whatever it is that's triggering a reaction in your physical body to chill out for just a minute, then so FYI on that, because I know we're pretty weirded out on what to put in our bodies and what not, and so that is one that I know that you can utilize, and I highly suggest it instead of aspirin. Definitely not ibuprofen, but do not take ibuprofen. Do not. It seals your it seals you. It's made to. I'm talking about all of this right now because it's going back to the ancient roots of what Egyptian and what has been and was held down here by specific factions of beings that had over long periods of time permeated into the human race. Permeated, injected themselves, injected their energetic, injected their DNA sequences, injected their mind patterns into the human race. Now, the problem is that everything Egyptian down here was under one classification called divinification. And that's just because the propaganda that has always been spread down here was to fear it. Because the entities and the beings that were attempting to take over the human consciousness to make the human into their image was using all of that frequency technology. And it's what they were back here. And it's the only power structure that exists laid by all of us who came down here and were part of this experiment this last 1,000,000 years. I'm fixing to sneeze, so y'all can. Because we're clearing all this right now. It was important for me to come on here. I might not sneeze. Ooh, golly, this one's, again, one little vein. Now, the truth is, all of your Egyptian characters are in your Bible. Same characters. Different timeline. And the truth is that every single pyramid, every single mummification has been what has been projecting your reality ever since. Ever since. How it works in the etherics and what we know now is and we know all of this. Why is it that we know all this, and how are we so certain, and how do we know that what I'm on here telling you is the truth? Well, because my teams and I put back together the Egyptian etherics by claim with all of y'all. Now, what does that mean? It's all about astronomy. The whole world, and I don't care who it is that's saying that they have any power or control. You want to call it NATO, you want to call it Charles Manson, Charlie over in London. You want to NATO, I mean, Japan and China, that's its own weird clone version. Russia, Prussia, even this ridiculousness of this AB presidency bullshit. All of it has to do with astronomy. Your astronomical lineups line up over long periods of time. And that was all that the human needed to forget about. Is if they could make the human, and those of us that are down here, forget about a 26,000 year count, a 10,000 year count, a 72,000 year count, then what happens is they take over the clock. When the ancient Egyptian is put back together down here, when they come to try to take over the clock, no go. What happens is the whole human race has stacked to the stars, connected all the way out, cleared all the way down, and connected in this massive etheric body. Right now, what I'm telling you, it's over Sophia. It's over the Sophia body, and it is the Egyptian fair. That's even why their faces are painted that way, because it's what you see in astronomy. If any of y'all have ever hit a deer, this is a big one. This is a great example. When you don't realize when you're in your physical body in times like this, because these astronomical lineups, think freaking consciousness and spirit, it don't happen all the time. These astronomical lineups line up, and then it all lines up so the human race can stack. Because we all work together. So realize that even Libra and your wheel and the astrology that became at the end of days was all a little watch dial on an Egyptian hieroglyph. Like a little watch, little time travel watch. Milky Way. Zodiac. The Egyptian infrastructure and how it's laid, with all the other pyramids and the Mayans that laid the pyramids and the Indians that made the pyramids and even the Tesla towers, even Japan and even Disney, all that foundation is Giza. Now, think about that. The whole motherboard that you would call the solar system, because you can't just affect Earth and it not change the whole thing. You can't just mess up 6 to 9 degrees of one house and it not hit every single house. That's it. Everything works in an amoeba. So what the feminine, what we did. Now realize we outsmarted, like, we're just now realizing what we pulled off over here. 2018, when we were clearing Venus, it's because they had taken Venus out of the solar system. And basically, they were using Venus to print down here. Because over time, that Egyptian infrastructure that now is, boom, over Sophia. Boom, we're holding a DNA coil that goes all the way back, because we used every bit of the energy these past 7 years. as they were moving us around, trying to put us back in their written time history in these sedation layers. Every time they'd come down to do whatever was happening, all of us were in position and proving through the healing, through where we were, through what we were doing, through who we were talking to, because each layer that you clear, your experience and what's going on even in your reality when you're at 0 point is consistent to where you really are in that pyramid structure. This is how I ended up at the very top of the pyramid with Anunnaki trying to crawl all over me. This is how I ended up as a pure source power with all these dark entities like all around me, but it can't touch me, and I'm having to basically Cleo it. I'm having to wield them. I'm having to take them over, literally. The mind pattern. Because that is what this whole thing is built on, with putting the brain back together, because the way the cosmos is set up and the way that they carved it, it was impossible with them with the human race linked into this sedentary old 6th city of October mind control to link in. Now, the human race has never had, not in its well, even prior to what you'd call a civilized form. The human race has never had full consciousness and complete consciousness that didn't require a machine of beings doing each part together in order to produce the conscious outcome. It never had it before. In order to have consciousness in the old structure, you'd have to link in, the energy waves would have to link in to city of 6th of October, which is over in Egypt. And it's like the terraforming epicenter. Because it was all made on top of the tombs in a machine, the way it was designed with the pharaohs and with all of us who made those burial tombs, made everything that we did in Egypt, made a machine of consciousness and frequency to hit 5 spheres. For now. Because just like the mummification process. Now, whenever on Moon Ra, which is your banking structures, that's still who was in charge. That's what they were using. They was using a Moon Ra. They had just gotten all the artifacts. They'd said that they were theirs. They put them on whatever ley lines they wanted to, and then they were doing their wicka what. And then as all of us started proving who we were, we did not know that it was like first day of school in high school, and you're a freshman girl walking in. Everybody remember your first day of freshman high school? If you're a girl. If you do, you remember. Especially if you're one of us, because you're cute. So that first day of school, freshman high school, is all the junior and senior boys are like hot on your lick, man. They want to see who is walking in. Thank God there's some fresh meat coming in here. I can't stand these crazy teenager women, girls. So you walk in and they're all on the rafters, right? they're like, yeah, I mean, come on, I know y'all remember. They're standing on, they're wherever they can get the highest perspective so they can see all of us walking in at once. Well, that's what the factions were seeing. Not only that, they're in the entertainment industry because this had been going on so long, because they had harnessed this energetic power of the antimatter. Because whenever you held a true Egyptian post, you held a piece of that Stargate, of that black hole, that antimatter is inside your body. And it's holding like oil the antimatter, which was scooting us all through time. Now we know, which is how a lot of us ended up in 1972 and this year and that year, because that antimatter in your body is moving you from cosmic star systems way out, getting you back into position for a 26,000 year count. That part. As when you first start mummifying, so if you let's just think about this. Let's just go back and think about it. So why would you start mummifying? Well, you'd start mummifying because the collective's losing consciousness. Too many people now, right? Egyptians come in, we do a big reset, because this would have been what happened if we didn't do what we just did and do the whole human race, is that this cycle would repeat itself, and it will again repeat itself in human consciousness, but it's going to take about 1,000 years for something else to hit like this in the higher forms of consciousness. But something will, because beings, once we get to where we're going to be, then beings will start slipping off of that, okay? Because this is evolution. This human race will always go on. It will always go on. There's always going to be change. That's constant. Not Constantine. The difference. You say, okay, this is the royal, these are the people that are going to be mummified. The high priestess, she's the wisdom. This one's got the body codes. This one's got So it's usually the ones that are in the dynasty. And then whenever the first one dies and they mummify, usually in the collective, there's a burst of energetic. There's a burst of consciousness. There's a burst of God particle. There's a burst of energy. So when the first one, two, even up to the third one, and the mummification, the 70-day process hits, and then you have a cycle of energy that hits the collective, then those would be like waves. But when you get to that fourth one, because it goes up, it goes up, it goes up, because those first three held so much, and all of us are like waiting for it because we're trained for it, and then it hits, and we're like, whoa, we got all their consciousness. Now we need to do this and this and this and this. I hear you, I hear you, I hear you. Then that second wave hits. Boom! The first ones that got the first wave, you get it again. You're like, holy crap. Then it wakes up a little bit more. That third one hits. The ones that were getting the first and second hit, you're pretty much fried. There's probably only so much that you can hold because the numbers are going up, but there's only so many that got the first wave. Then that third wave hits. It kind of takes the leaders out in a way, because they're no longer processing, they're holding. Then that third wave hits, it's going to hit the big collective more. The big collective's going to have more leaders that come up, but they still don't have the first wave. Most of them don't understand the second. They're just now understanding the second wave. So when that fourth one dies, what happens is it's like the floor comes out. Boom! Because you went, don't, because everybody didn't realize this is why the mummification things took place, because nobody was really realizing where everything was coming from was really only coming from 5 beings, because of the reason that we were there, why we came back to the land. It was all in order to bring consciousness here, to bring DNA strands here, to have all of us remember who we were, because we were trapped in this sedation system for way longer than you want to know. That part. That part. Now, if I keep talking about Egypt and I talk about Cleopatra, Mary Magdalene, same character. Isis, Cleopatra, same character. If I go talk about Essenes, I'm talking about Cleopatra and I'm talking about Tut escaping Herod. Escaped Herod, killed all the boys. Well, we're all girls this round, aren't we? How'd that happen? Cleopatra leaving, getting out of the castle just in time, going to her Essene family. Matrix writers. Essene family, Matrix writers. And then they go into whatever that they're doing, which is probably somewhat similar to what we've been doing over here, healing, trying to figure out, okay, and then watching everything happening, but then you're a prophet, so you're writing it, and then the whole thing starts over again in a new timeline. Now you've got John the Baptist and all these characters that most people know from the Bible, but realize that those characters came from Egypt. Same story. Now, then we get in this whole weird king chart, the whole king, queen, Henry, literally, because it's all built off Egypt. And it's all built off the Essene timelines that were written before. And then it's all built off this low sedation level, because by this time, you know, we weren't cooking with Crisco. We was way down, like the whole thing had fallen on itself. The floor fell out because they's hydrogen colliding. They's colliding, trying to get where? Into that deep black hole. Whoa. You sure about that? You sure that's where you want to go? This is the shadow and the underworld and all this that all of us that are screaming, that dude just got taken over by a demon. Us Generation Xers that are like, what's going on here? A lot of y'all can't even, a lot of the new ones, they can't even see it. Those of us who have had this done to us before and that had to prove through all of these lines, and trust we did. There was one queen that they didn't even bury for 80 years. I call them E1 and E2. E1, Elizabeth 1, Elizabeth 2, same characters, Alexandria 1, Alexandria 2. Same characters, different timeline. When you're an Egyptian, you not only print, depends on who you are, I print 5. So whenever I come in, I print 5. So if there's not 5 around me, where are they? See, this has been my whole thing with Momoa and the DC comics and Washington, D.C. and all that shit. Because it's not just 5 on your dimension, it's 5 on every dimension that you have proved and claimed in that Egyptian infrastructure. And even at the top, I should have 5 around me. Well, I don't. Someone else had them. Because they had ran and made an entire universe, reality, off an offsetting on Giza. This is the dark moons that I talk about on the dark side. This is how we rebirth Jupiter. This is how it was all set up, and we even tricked them and we tricked Hitler to build it in the wrong spot so that we'd have this window. This has been a 22 million year war. This has been the most kept secrets of the human race, and the elite don't even have the full story. Because we's in charge of it. It's our infrastructure. And us queens and us pharaohs, especially the women that became pharaohs, because we all, right? We were women, we masqueraded as men. Well, think about that. If we're masquerading as a man in that Egyptian dimension, well, it's happening now. See, when you start dealing with ancient creator consciousness and you start really understanding how that reality is built by just a few, then you're on to something on how to do it on your own. Because no matter, you're still having to deal with 5 energies, even if they're not around you. This is why in the castles and these families took a stronghold, because Charles is all 5 of them. Elizabeth had gotten up to 50,000. There were 50,000 of us queens in other timelines that were bound to that reptilian Elizabeth in order to make her appear in their weird e-world. The process of all of us claiming all these old titles for queens, because every single one of them, and whenever they died, who got the consciousness, because that was another part of this, and then who was able to pull the trigger to bring the reptilian queen down? Me. I did. It all worked out in my world on Hermosa Beach the night that it happened. How is that possible? Because our infrastructure is back in play. Now, this leads me to a very important topic: mental health. Right now, the timeline that they're attempting to run for all of us and all of you who didn't understand these claiming processes, okay, or who maybe didn't fully have the experience yet of claiming, part of that in this weird London, European, whatever the F-balls last 3,000 years, in that line was all about the HESS family. The HESS family, and the HESS family line, inside that Rothschild line, inside the Charles line, Elizabeth, all of it, the whole thing. What they were always doing was they had those of us that were the ones who were actually getting all the spiritual information, the ones that were activating inside the family and making everything happen and having to do all the weird, crazy stuff that we've had to do over here, according to the program. It's weird. But that family and these families always knew what time it was whenever one of us started reacting to it. That's why you became the black sheep. That's why you're getting blamed for being crazy, all this stuff, because they know subconsciously that you're breaking it open. Because they're consciously or subconsciously, depending on your family, because it works both ways. Sometimes it's just subconscious. They don't even realize that that's what they're throwing you back into, because it's what happened before. Because the HESS line was always taken to mental hospitals. The HESS line always had the demons put into them, literally, because of the wicka what that they were doing. Because once they saw you activating and pulling in the Christ consciousness and the power, their sole purpose is to suck it out of you and send you to the antimatter, to that black hole. And trap you out there for 10,000 years so they can suck the energy off of you. That part. And inside all of these hospitals, the HESS family lived on and had babies and had this and this and had mental problems. But the mental problems weren't necessarily problems. You was connected, and your body was being harnessed in another layer. And even in my and see what I'm starting to realize from my crew, FYI, especially my Detroit crew, is that in a weird way, November 2021, on the dark side, we basically did get sent to kind of like an etheric mental hospital. And I walked this. Now, what was happening as this was happening, because nobody had ever activated the mind this clearly. We had never had the human consciousness all put back together. We had never had stabilized lines of the brain functions ever down here. And so in our weird little world, when we were in hell and we got sent to basically the mental ward, is I ended up traveling and with and I'm not going to name her name here. I named it in the last video because they had pulled her out of cryo to even see who I gravitated to. Now, this was all HESS line bullshit that they had done. And she's a psychologist. Now, what we proved through this whole thing and walked it for 1.5 years, not just with our group, but to others that were in programs around her that I was live and involved with, is that everything that we're training over here and talking about as far as the different DNA lines, the Cohu 32, the different etheric layers of ascension, and where your etheric body and brain are disconnected from the alterations that they were doing to the cosmos, is mental health. Just like we shouldn't have any teeth problem. It don't matter. Sugar is not the cause of cavities. Eating too much sugar in the end wasn't the cause of diabetes. We know this for a fact. There is no disease down here except for disease alteration sequences that were pummeled down here because Amun Ra wanted to keep his health care and wanted to keep this finance and that whole accounting system, that the whole entire universe had been set up down here since Tut died in that timeline. Nobody wanted that to change. And is the process of evolution, and is the process of being an ancient Egyptian. I've been saying down here since the beginning, I'm the one you didn't want to wake up. Because whenever I wake up, all the physics change. Well, that is what is happening. If you have anyone around you that is starting to whisper, or it's been made known to you that there has been conversations concerning your mental health, and you hear that they are going to put you somewhere or this and that, I'm just telling the world right now that if you lock up any of our people, one of them, and it's under false universal law, as soon as you make a phone call to a doctor, you're going to lose your mind. You're going to lose your mind. Because we're not the ones with the problem. All of you thinking that you can call a doctor, call a police officer, call NATO, call a judge to deal with us, that's your problem. It ain't our problem. It's why we were here. This is divine intervention. Y'all all lost your fucking minds. Every single being down here was in a planetary vat system working together as one fucking amoeba when we busted you out. We know more than any of y'all because we've gone back into hell 4 fucking times to get you. And each time, the human race got crazier, not us. We have proven and we have walked that the cosmos, NASA, SpaceX, all this fucking nightmare bullshit, 3D German Nazi, London calling, MI6, propaganda, emoji, tech, lasers, infrared, gifts, is what carved up the human brain. Because as all y'all were losing your mind, we's getting smarter. Because it's how it works. So if anybody around you is starting to whisper that, you know that I was never in my physical. Never did they take me in. And if they didn't take me in, they can't take you in. Did they show up here a couple of times when it was all going down? And did I walk through this last year? Yes, I did. Yes, I did. And they took my son and they tried to say and tried to have me psychologically tested to see him. And no, go. No. You're not going to do your stupid little magic. You're not going to write it in a file somewhere and with somebody that has no consciousness, that's paid for by Collin County as the only one to do these, by the way, for the entire Collin County. There's one guy who does all of their psyche evals. Well, psychology is neurology. Neurology is numerology, literally, in these physics. And you will not put black magic on us. And if you've done it before, you literally can't. But as these slip, and as these timelines, so basically also all of your ascended that came before you that proved and had to prove all the way up, all the way up, if this is coming up or something like this is coming up in your reality, realize that it is a queen's program that you're clearing. That is and proves to you who you are as far as connected to human races and races. And know that our program, we never were homeless. We always had, and something was always available when we needed it. We never slept in our car. Well, once, but that was on purpose because it was such a big outside of Sturgis, but that was on purpose. There wasn't a safe place for us to sleep. Whenever we had to run from somewhere, there was always somebody offering a place. So it's like if you all of a sudden feel like you need to get out of where you are, then know that you'll know whenever a place opens up for you to go. It's important that everyone knows that because we wrote the program. So they can't take you in. and all that you've done in order to get where you are and whatever your journey is and what you've stood up to and what you've escaped from and what you've, just barely by the skin of your teeth, because it's always right on time. It's never as early. It never shows up when we want it to. Because we would have preferred that it show up way before. But it will always show up right on, and I mean right on time. I mean right on time. I mean right at the second that someone's trying to do something, it's right on time. Because as those programs start to merge together, it hits your field, and you're in a bigger field, and it ricochets. Just like that. The light will hit, it ricochets, it'll hit somebody in the collective or somebody around you that's holding that energy, and they'll call, hey, do you need a place to jump to? Hey, and then call and ask. I need to get somewhere. Sometimes you only need to get out of your house or get out of your area for like 2 or 3 days. That's because your energy, if you've been sitting where you're at for too long, your energy field is holding all the old shit that you don't want no more. And our energy fields are so massive. And with that dark matter and how all of us connect, sometimes you just need to pull your energy out for 2 or 3 days, go hunker down somewhere, clear a new place of land. Because as soon as you get there, what happens? Well, as soon as you decide, look, I'm shaking right now. It's going to clear it. Okay? And then what happens is that's going to lift up where you just left. And the dome gets bigger. And it cuts whatever stagnant energy was holding you in that old bubble. So whenever you re-enter that bubble, boom, you just blast it. And then the whole thing gets rewritten and you just wait. Just don't make any moves, just wait. And don't think about it and don't manifest it. Use the physics of your body to retune your reality. Because you're in a higher structure. And things like this also will come up, because if you're a queen or an ancient Egyptian, you're proving in that program, and you just have to use your gifts, and you just have to use your strength of numbers and knowing who you are to clear it. That's it. It's a test of faith. It's a test of power to your connections and even your healing connections, to show that you can stand for all of us, because that's how it works. So I needed to come on here and talk about that real quick. And right now I'm going to go to the chart really quick before I'm getting a headache too, because this is all neuron patterns. Right now, these are archaic systems that have the first time are not connecting. Right now, the etherics is like a bomb went off. You know all those, and I was seeing this last night. Because we're on day 2. Tomorrow's day 3. But you know all those movies that show the Matrix, and they're like the people that are in the Matrix, and they've got the little typewriters, and they've got their little card catalogs, and then they come down here in order to do whatever. Well, starting yesterday, the etherics was like a fucking bomb went off in it. None of their timelines are matching up if they wrote it after 1400. Now, it's going to keep going back and back and back and back. But this is the big one, because Jupiter rebirth. And so Jupiter went into the 1300 count. So basically this is Trump's masonry, this is Japanese masonry, this is Chinese, this is Russia, this is United States of America, the government, whoever had in the end, in the amazing race, whatever powers they were able to put in their pocket and write the masonry for, no longer has a connection to fulfill the human race, to hit the human race, unless it started before in the 1300s. Everything else, 1400, 1500, 1600, 1700, 1800, 1900, boom, shakalaka. Ancient Egyptian. So what they're doing is having, I was watching them last night. They're going and pulling card catalogs. They're like dusting off old books. They're like, because everything's written up there. Oh my God. But that's how it's devised, because then they're having to go look up. They're getting closer and closer to the true answer of the sources that all of them just had in their pocket, and that's the only reason that they had any control. And then they is beating us and killing us and doing whatever else along the way, making us act like we're crazy, locking us up for no fucking reason, stealing our companies for no reason, stealing our children for no reason, stealing real estate, because I'll tell you, King Tut died when he was 16 because he had to get here. And when he did, real estate market crashed.